All right, let's go to Wednesday night. And this was one of the games that, well, prior to last week, we thought this was going to be one hell of a game. It's like maybe the Conference USA Championship a long way. It's going to be decided, go a long way to being decided by who wins this game. But some shine's been taken off of this game because of a stunning, and I mean a truly stunning, loss for the Liberty Flames last week against, I can't believe I'm saying this again, that Kennesaw fucking State beat Liberty 27-point dogs, winning outright against Liberty last week. And the Flames will try to pick themselves up off the mat here at home against Jacksonville State. Liberty, 1.5-point home favorites, 63 the total. This is a team that had not lost a regular season game last year or so far this year until last week against Kennesaw State. And of all teams to lose that first regular season game in 1.5 seasons, to lose it to Kennesaw State, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I could not believe that an offense that has been so bad all year, Kennesaw State, until last week, they put 5 points on the board against Middle Tennessee the week before. Middle Tennessee was at a terrible defense, and Kennesaw could put 5 stinking points on the board and could barely get a first down in that game. And then all of a sudden last week against Liberty, here they are essentially going up and down the field for most of that game against Liberty's defense. Davis Bryson was great. 4 incomplete passes on 20 pass attempts, 189 through the air, 1 touchdown. Suddenly they had some balance in the run game. They gave up 134 yards rushing to Kennesaw State, who couldn't run the football a lick most of the season. Where did that come from for Liberty's defense last week against such a horrid offensive team going into that game? Shocking. It truly was shocking. There's not a lot that shocks me anymore. Even that did shock me. 27-24, that Kennesaw offense that has done nothing this year, moves up and down the field, wins the game outright. That closed as high as 27-27.5 with Liberty as road favorites last week. I don't think it's an easy ask, C-Mac, for Liberty to just flip a switch and get their heads right again. I mean, that's the first loss in a year and a half, and it's to a lowly Kennesaw team. I don't think I want Liberty here. For me, I could only look at Jacksonville State. And the one thing about Jacksonville State is they beat this Liberty team, or the Liberty beat them up, I should say, last year, 31-13. Jacksonville State probably feels that this year they might be ready to take that step and beat Liberty. Let's keep in mind they've won 4 in a row. They've covered 4 in a row, Jacksonville State. I'm impressed with this Huff kid at quarterback. He's been absolutely terrific. You know what's amazing, too? They go like 3 or 4 deep at running back. They've got Trey Stewart. They've got Andrew Paul. They can bring in DeMarcus Lacey. They've got like 3 guys that can interchange at running back for Rich Rod, and they don't skip a beat. And they're able to just run the football. And now with Kennesaw that hasn't been able to run the football worth a tinker's fucking damn all year, all of a sudden running it on Liberty, why can't Jacksonville State's dominant ground game, it's been dominant during this win streak, have success here against Liberty? The question, I think, for me that determines this game, I think Jacksonville is going to score on Liberty. That I don't have much doubt about. The determining factor is what will Liberty offensively do against Jacksonville State, because let's be honest, they struggled against Kennesaw's defense to move. It was only late that they finally started to get some traction going. Salter was all right, but where was the ground game? You only had 37 rushing yards from Quentin Cooley, the great running back last week against Kennesaw State. That's not supposed to happen. So I've got questions about Liberty. Jacksonville State defensively, the one concern is they faced a lot of weak teams and weak offenses. You would think on paper Liberty is a better offense that they'll face here. I lean Jacksonville. I probably will sprinkle on the just on the money line. Never mind the +1.5. They can win this game on the road here in Liberty. I'm that down on Liberty after what happened last week that I could only look at JSU here on the road to win this game. I think I like the total though more. I like over. I mean, I don't see how Liberty's going to slow down Jacksonville State. But I think for Jacksonville State, like I said, defensively, they've been good, but they have faced a lot of porous teams and a lot of porous offenses. And I think the one thing Liberty still can do here in this game is maybe move the football and score. And they did get into the 30s last year against Jacksonville State. So I like the over especially, but I could only look Jacksonville State for the side. C-Mac, what do you think here? Jacksonville State, Liberty.
Yeah, Jacksonville State last week. I mean, I thought the number was right there, and it ended up, I mean, if you got 41.5, you cashed, but if you got 42.5, you didn't. Yep. I mean, obviously a key number with their team total.
Team total, yep.
So their team total here is what I'd look at. I like the over too. How can you not? And I think they're still all right at 63. I think it could get over. I mean, even Liberty, because I've seen Liberty give up points, whether it's like New Mexico State, Kennesaw, which is this team couldn't break 14. I talked about on the show.
They could barely get a first down the week before against Middle Tennessee. And that same team puts 27 on the board and wins outright against them last week. Unbelievable.
But even when East Carolina was struggling, 24. FIU, not the greatest offense, 24. Jacksonville State. So their team totals, the 30.5 minus 130 there, or the 31.5 even money. Yeah, I think they want to, like, we're the better team. We struggled kind of early. Jacksonville State, we're finding our stuff. You talked about Huff. I missed his rushing prop the week before, and I was like, I should go back. So he runs for like 188 yards last week, whatever it was. But man, I was kind of like, of course he did. He only has 55 and then 188. But he'll run plenty. And I thought that's why I took his rushing prop the week before. Like, if he gets 15 carries, which he's been getting, like he's going to be in the 70s for sure, 80s. And he had a really big game. He's had a few really big games, and they have a bunch of running backs there. They should be able to move the ball. This Liberty team is just, I don't know. And you regroup? Do you think, like we talked about, how can you back a team that just doesn't give a shit, that's going through the motions last week as this huge favorite when they haven't covered all year? Do you want them now? They think that's the loss is woken them up? I mean, maybe. I got to see it to really believe it. And I think this is the wrong team that they've kind of lost to the last few years, because Liberty's been the best team. Really, last year, Jacksonville State beat him, but that was a long time ago. What was this, 2016? Yeah, that was a while ago. But team total here for Jacksonville State, I think they get in the 30s, and I don't mind the full game over. I think the line's right about there, though. I think it could still get over.
Don't lose sleep of the fact, too, that there's a massive strength of schedule advantage, too, here for well, I don't know about massive, but there's at least Jacksonville State has Louisville on their schedule. Jacksonville State played a pretty good Louisville team, at least. Liberty has played nobody, like absolutely nobody of any quality. So Jacksonville State, to me, like, and this reminds me of, people can't get enough of Liberty here, because Jacksonville State opened a 2-point road favorite. Liberty's favored now at home. I thought the odds makers were right to make Jacksonville State a road favorite initially. And it's a feeding frenzy now. Everyone loves Liberty. Bounce back spot. This reminds me of BYU versus UCF last week. People couldn't get enough of UCF. They were betting UCF like they knew the final score already. You know, that.
Well, it's a little bit, they're going off the past.
Yeah,
I believe, in this thing. And like UCF had too many hiccups this year, where it was like Cincinnati at home, like few of these games where, and if they couldn't get it running, like they couldn't get the ball going, and they didn't, well, they were fucked, and they were. So, yeah, I think we're just going off a little bit of the past and people thinking the bounce back of this Liberty team.
Whereas I ended up, once it got to 3, I had to take BYU in that game. I just had to. I'm like, I know people say they're lucky and they're winning all these close games and they're due to lose, the do factor. Didn't work out and this kind of feels that way too, that everyone's loving Liberty, and I don't get it. I think Jacksonville State, with what my eyes have seen, they're a better football team right now. And at least in their schedule, they played a good team, and Liberty just hasn't. Liberty's got to be the worst schedule of all of college football, or softest so far. And like I said, I could only look at Jacksonville State from a side perspective there in that game.